Just before the year comes to a close, iSpecLodge surprised us with even more Pathologic 3 news. This time, it's the announcement of a free Pathologic 3 Prelude titled Pathologic 3 Quarantine. Quarantine already has a page on Steam where it's available to be wishlisted, which is what we'll be going over today. But first, let's take a look at the announcement page. Here on the Steam announcement page, we're told more about what exactly Pathologic 3 Quarantine is. Quarantine is a free demo version of Pathologic 3, similar to the Marble Nest for Pathologic 2. Although, unlike the Marble Nest, Quarantine is not a separate story in its own universe. It will follow the Bachelor before and possibly right after his arrival to the town on Gorgon, and will tie directly into the main game. In this, we'll experience some of the game's new mechanics, see new locations, and we'll get to see the capital and Daniel's lab. It's also mentioned that the story of Quarantine partially overlaps with the main game's intro. And although this is a demo of sorts, it will include plenty of events and scenes unique to it that won't be experienced in Pathologic 3. So if you want the full story of Pathologic 3, playing Quarantine is a must. The last thing we're told here is that Telman is a traitor. Who Telman is, I'm not quite sure, but if I'd have to take a guess, I think it may be one of Daniel's colleagues in the capital who ends up betraying him somehow. Next, let's move on to the Steam page for Pathologic 3 Quarantine. Starting at the top, we have a handful of new screenshots. The first is a very cool look at the Saparov's rod at night. As we've seen with previously released screenshots and clips, the town will be getting updated both graphically and physically, with plenty of locations getting a makeover. The new additions we can see here are this big tree in the rod's yard and the area out front where we can see Clara sitting. Fun fact, with the addition of this tree, the rod now matches more closely to its concept art. Next we get a look inside what I assume is Yulia's residence, the Trammel. Yulia's presence, as well as this model of the town, which likely belongs to her since she is responsible for designing the town's roads, is what leads me to believe this is indeed the Trammel. A similar looking room was present in Pathologic 2, but it seems the only thing that was kept from it was its shape. Again, this place is likely updated along with the rest of the town. Also, I just want to point out that this model of the town is specifically of the tanners and the gut, with parts of the backbone and chine. After this, we get a glimpse of the warehouses with a few bulls on the tracks. And last, we get to see Peter in his natural habitat, the Broken Heart. That's it for the screenshots, so now let's look over the description and take a look at the clips accompanying it. Here, we're basically told the same thing from the main game's Steam page. Daniel Dankovsky is a doctor from the capital who journeys out to investigate an immortal man and ends up getting roped into combating an outbreak. Under this, we have a clip to look at. Here, we can see Daniel using the plague finder to cause some kind of shockwave to clear the plague. After this, we get a few seconds of the hospital and a clip of a conversation with the patient Hardman. From what I gather, this character may seem to be some kind of snake oil salesman, as he has come to the Bachelor claiming to have conquered death and offers to share a formula that purges all diseases. Whether or not this person will have a more significant role is yet to be seen. Another important thing we can see here is that time seems to pass during dialogue. This could mean one of two things. Time may be passing constantly even when talking to people, or maybe time passes as you select dialogue, meaning that every choice matters. Now let's move on to the next segment, which I'm going to read out loud. Bachelor's story is told through his subjective lens and through the lens of his persecutors. Did he really do or fail to do all the things he is accused of? Can he fix his own story by going back in time and making different choices? In Quarantine, watch how this non-chronological storytelling begins. I find this to be significant as iSpecLodge has hinted previously at the whole unreliable narrator thing. And my take on it was that after Daniel's 12 days in town, he was a completely broken person who couldn't properly recall what exactly happened. And in the indictment, we relive his memories and put the pieces together. While I think this is still on the table, with the first line of this paragraph, it changes things a bit. We're told that the story is told through the Bachelor's subjective lens and the lens of his persecutors. What I think that means is that some of that unreliable narrator stuff will be coming from the man interrogating Daniel in the indictment. Daniel will be getting accused of things he may or may not have done, and will be playing through and experiencing these possibly false events to try to set the story straight. Seeing as Daniel might not be in his proper headspace, especially since he's been dealing with that new psychosis mechanic, he may not really know what the correct story is, which is again where we come in to pick up the pieces and connect the dots. The next clips we're given seem to be of the complete examination process, from physical symptoms to the cellular level and the notes Daniel takes on them. In Quarantine, we'll be getting our first look at the Bachelor's up-close and personal way of treating the sandpest. So that's Pathologic 3 Quarantine. Soon we'll be getting to explore the capital and the Thanatica, and we'll finally get to test out the new gameplay mechanics and get a real feel for how different Pathologic 3 will be from 2. I'm hoping we won't have to wait too long for this. Assuming that Icepick Lodge is planning to release Pathologic 3 on the anniversary of Classic on June 9th, then I'm guessing we'll see the release of Quarantine within the next few months. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.